Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all legislators, Tsawwassen members, staff, and guests present here and online. I hope everybody had a good day and are ready to tackle the important work ahead of us. I'd firstly like to thank Connie and Jessica Adams for their table blessing and Wapio Frank Campbell for drumming us in. And thank you to Ramsey's Catering for providing another wonderful meal for us tonight. This evening marks our sixth meeting of the spring 2025 session. As with every session, we have a lot of important matters to discuss, and I'm looking forward to hearing your input. Before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I'd like to invite Elder Castagna, Ruth Adams, to open our meeting with a prayer. Osium.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Creator, bless this legislative table tonight. Bless all of the legislators and chief and executive that are here. And pray that our chief, Laura Castille, gets home safe and sound. And bless the staff for all of the work that they do, putting in all of the paper from all of the members for the legislators to vote on. And I thank all of the chief and executive and all of the legislators for being so good with all the new family members coming home. Bless all of those family members coming home and staying and being so happy and healing on this beautiful land of ours, that they are healing to be back at home where they don't have any racism or discrimination towards them here at home on this beautiful land that all of our mothers and have saved for all of us to live on. So bless this meeting, this wonderful legislator with all of our young ones here, very proud of them. And I know all of the members say thank you. All the new members, especially, and their families, and all of us that are healing from all the trauma living off the nation that they had to heal, and that includes me too. So I'm so happy to be at home with all of my family, and so proud of the First Nation for doing all that they do for each and every member living on and off the nation. So I thank you, Creator, for this beautiful Tsawwassen First Nation and each and every member that lives here and off the nation. And bless all of the ones that came here to watch tonight. Bless them and thank them for being interested in our beautiful legislative table. I thank you in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. All my relations, all my relations, all my relations, all my relations. Just for the visitors, that's part of our culture, the 4 directions. So thank you.
Osium Haichka, thank you for your words, Elder Castagna, and for starting this off in a good way. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our feather runner for tonight, Nevaeh Pavang. Welcome back, Nevaeh. It's good to have you joining us again. As is our custom, I'd like to remind legislators and staff to wait until they have the feather before speaking, and to pass the feather back to the feather runner when finished speaking. Finally, before we get into our agenda, a reminder to please ensure your cell phones are on silent. Before we get started, I have a few regrets to convey. Squamish Chumquat, Valerie Cross, and CM Squamish, Chief Laura Cassidy are in Quebec attending the Lands Claims Agreement Coalition, as the TFN representatives are unable to attend tonight's session. I'm very happy to step in as Squamish tonight and wish Squamish Chumquat and Chief Squamish a successful trip and a safe journey back home. I also need to convey regrets on behalf of Legislator Taylor Baker, who is unable to join tonight's meeting. For tonight's agenda, we'll start off with the second reading of Schedule 12, Territory Management. Next, we'll have the second reading of Schedule 13, Economic Development, as well as here's a presentation, the TEDC Annual Report. Lastly, we'll hear an introduction to any legislator resolutions. Are there any questions or comments on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll continue on and move into Schedule 12, Territory Management, Schedule of Bill 001-2025, second reading. As a reminder, the second reading is the time for debating the substance and merit of Schedules 12 and 13 tonight. It's the time to ask any questions you may have and share your thoughts on scheduled content. Schedule 12 covers the Treaty Rights and Title Department. I'd like to now call on Andrew Bach, Director of Territory Management, to give the presentation on Schedule 12.
Thank you, Tequilum. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who haven't met me, I'm Andrew Bach. I'm Director of Territory Management for Tsawwassen First Nation. I've returned to serve my nation as of August. Previously, I was with the federal government where I worked with Transport Canada on marine safety and security, and I also worked on the Oceans Protection Plan for a number of years. Prior to that, of course, I was a part of Tsawwassen's administration. I'd headed several departments and served a couple of terms on the legislature and also with the previous executive council. I was also a part of the treaty negotiating team and a part of the early implementation effort. So when the opportunity became available to serve my community again in a leadership role with a view to advancing not only our treaty goals, but also our environmental goals, I took that opportunity and returned to complete some of the work that I had started years ago and to working along with Executive Council, realize some new goals, some new ambitions for our community, and to further the ability of Tsawwassen members to fully exercise their treaty rights and improve the environment that we all rely upon. If we can go to the PowerPoint presentation, want to set out for you here some of the changes that have happened over the course of the last 12 months and to give you a bit of a preview of some of the changes that we are going to see not only for this fiscal, but for other years into the future. Before I get too far into that, though, I want to take a moment to recognize some of our guests that are here with us in the gallery tonight. We have some representatives from our Crown partners from the Government of British Columbia. There are some folks with us from the Environmental Assessment Office. There are some folks with us from the Vancouver Port Authority who have been working with us, and also some folks that we're working with from Fortis who are doing a couple of projects on the Fraser River. I think that you'll find that although the nature of our interests is different, that we found a way to work effectively with all of these groups, and we all have a shared vision for the development of Tsawwassen's territory. And I believe that all of these partners agree that there needs to be a substantial role and a substantial contribution from Tsawwassen First Nation with respect to the way that the economy unfolds within our traditional territory, within British Columbia and within Canada. Given that backdrop, the work that we do has several facets. It exists in several spheres, and those things are being brought together in a new way this time and for years moving forward. In previous fiscal years, some of the work that we are proposing here would have been organized into Schedule 7, and it was a part of the member services portfolio. There are other aspects that were set out in Schedule 11, and that contained some of the natural resources projects that we engage in, not only the harvesting work that we do, but some of the conservation work as well. That work is being reorganized and re-envisioned, and there is new programming that we are bringing online beginning this year and moving into other years in the future. So you'll get a sense here when you look at this diagram of kind of the four business lines that we are rolling out to do some of this work. Where previously everything was organized on 2 central themes, now there are 4. So we are going to be rolling out programming related to treaty rights and title. There'll be some environmental functions that are being split off from natural resources, and they will be grouped under a new heading called stewardship and sustainability. And there's also some new functions that will be added here. There's conservation and harvesting, which is essentially is a rebranding of the natural resources portfolio, although this area contains some new programming as well. And then finally, we're going to be reviving, I suppose is the word for it, the Traditional Territory Boundary Commission. And this is where a lot of the shared territory work that we do will be organized. Now, that part is actually an existing function for Tsawwassen government, but we haven't done an awful lot of work since the early days of treaty implementation. But now that there are other groups coming to other agreements, they are needing to have our input, and we are needing to provide some reflection from our perspective on how those new and emerging agreements can exist alongside of our constitutionally protected rights. So we're doing more work in that area. So roughly speaking, this is an overview of all of the functions for this new Schedule 12. Again, it contains some of what was in Schedule 7 from last year and all of what was in Schedule 11 from last year, plus some new work. Altogether, for all departments, we envision an overall expenditure of $6,490,000. Of that, 80% is covered by revenues, or just about $5.2 million, leaving an outstanding requirement of $1,306,848. All of that is captured in these 3 areas here: wages for staff, contracted services for external technical advice, and operations, which includes the purchase and maintenance of equipment. And there are no extraordinary expenses in this budget year. So we're going to look at the revenues and expenditures by each of the 4 areas that I had identified here, and we'll begin with treaty rights and title. So we can see here the existing department, and there, I note that we have 2 staff that are not currently actively serving right now. One of our territory management officers is away in the middle of a maternity leave, and then there's an open vacancy that we had budgeted for, but haven't actually filled that position. Revenues for this year are, I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up with my written notes. Revenues for this year are down approximately 7% compared to last year. Some of this reflects changes in the programming that we're doing, and some of it is just as a result of moving some functions between one aspect of the budget and another. However, we note that, again, all functions are roughly covered to about 80% of their planned expenditures. Costs for treaty rights and title are up relatively significantly because of new work that we're doing under existing kind of long-term projects. There has been a lot more work on the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 project and our review and participation in regulatory processes related to that. and there are several projects which have begun and are in progress or stalled. But work on those continues, and we'll see those through to their approval stages. Here's a listing of the major projects that we're currently involved in. And any one of these on their own could form a full-time position. But you can see that there's several significant projects. We're in quite a developed urban area, and there's an awful lot of work that goes into understanding the impacts of development. So we rely not only on a strong internal capacity, but we also have a lot of technical expertise that we retain from the outside world. So there continues to be a lot of support from our external legal advisors with JFK and technical contracts that we have in place with LGL and PGL, who are our environmental consultants. We're also doing a new piece of work along with the province of British Columbia this year, where we're exploring our role inside of provincial environmental assessment projects and discussing kind of what Tsawosson's view of free, prior, and informed consent looks like. And it's a pretty significant policy piece. So that has taken up a lot of our time as well. On top of the environmental assessment work are some of the lower level referral files. Generally speaking, the volume of those files is down to about 188 for the year, which is about a 30% decrease year over year. But the complexity of some of these files continues to pose a challenge for our internal technical capacity. Moving forward, we're supporting the Corporation of Delta on several of its capital projects, and we are moving our archaeological function from its current spot inside of Treaty Res and Title. It will move over to the sustainability and stewardship function, which I'll get to in a moment. But costs, revenues and costs for that program remain the same, although it's going to be reflected a little bit differently in the budget, which you'll see. And speaking of stewardship and sustainability, that's the second of our functions. You can see here a slightly larger arrangement of our staff. This also includes some relatively new positions. There are, subject to the approval of the legislature and approval of the budget, which we are submitting this year, there will be a number of program officers that are going to be brought on to do more in the way of scientific and technical work in support of our conservation efforts. And we hope to bring on as many as 8 technicians for this year. Revenues, as we see them here, are relatively the same as they have been in years previous. Although, again, this is portions that have been removed from each of the 2 schedules that I mentioned earlier, Schedule 7 from last year and Schedule 11 for this year. So there's no kind of comparable metric that we can use. We can't say very easily what the change has been year over year, because again, parts of this work have been reflected in 2 different budgets. But costs are expected to be $1.6 million altogether here, and they're arranged around themes related to aquatic, land, and plant stewardship. And we've set aside an amount specifically to deal with a member resolution on knowledge transfer and communications. So we see a modest budget for that here. So this group, again, provides largely technical support for all of our staff and some of the advisory bodies that we operate, including the Natural Resources Committee. We have also provided some input to some of the cultural functions that we are taking on, including support for the archaeological monitoring work, and then that work further builds on the work that Member Services is doing in terms of the operation of the cultural hub. We've made some really significant progress on the Tsawwassen-led impact assessment framework that we are developing along with our advisors from UBC, and we are participating in a lot of cumulative effects work for some of the major projects. Another really exciting component of that work is the development of the Squetchum framework, and we've had some very productive discussions with our friends and relatives over at Musqueam, who are helping us co-lead that work. This year, we're looking to develop governance options for that framework, and again, bring on some technical capacity to do some of the on-the-ground conservation work, which, if successful, will help our members not only improve the environment that we practice our rights upon, but actually develop a deeper connection to those rights and those resources. Our third area is conservation and harvesting, and you can see the again a larger corporate structure here. There are not many changes for this area, except to say that we are doing an awful lot of development work over the next 12 months for work that will follow that. And the most important part, I believe, is the establishment of the Guardian Watchman program. This is an effort that kind of came out of the strategic visioning workshop that we had back in August with the legislators and the Executive Council. So we have decided that we're going to try to adopt the program kind of concept and design that had been advanced by a group known as the Coastal First Nations, and these are several groups that operate cooperatively along the north and central coast of British Columbia. So it's a mixture of staff and volunteers, and they are going to be supporting a number of programs for not only marine harvesting and stewardship, but also terrestrial harvesting and stewardship. So we're beginning by setting out a framework for that group to operate within. We will offer some training and some support, and then bring people on first in a voluntary capacity, but then on a more professional basis as time goes on. For some of these programs, including our economic and food fish programs, there actually are no revenue sources for these. So this is an area that we're going to have to support out of other funding sources. Costs this year are relatively the same as they were last year, although we have moved some resources around in order to do some maintenance on some equipment that was that needs it. Some of it is quite old, but we've also included in the budget a proposal to acquire a couple of pieces of equipment that will help our Guardian Watchman program, once it is established, more effectively patrol our lands and waters, and help not only our conservation efforts, but also our enforcement efforts as well. On the policy side, we're working with our federal government counterparts on a crab allocation, and we've had a series of meetings. Although we continue to work inside of the 15-year review of the treaty, we are also working along with Canada outside of that process in meetings with the deputy minister and associate deputy minister on several kind of outstanding policy problems that we've had with the fishery. So there's been a series of meetings that we're conducting there, and some research that we're doing to advance some new positions on conservation and also on selective fishing techniques. Here, we're also bringing on some additional capacity and doing some job shadowing so we can start to groom some younger people in the community to take over positions within our department from people who are going to retire sometime, we believe, in the next number of years. Our last area, of course, is the Territorial Boundary Commission. And again, this is an existing body that has been kind of sitting quietly for the last number of years, but as there is more engagement between the Crown and other groups that seek to enter the treaty relationship, there's a need for us to participate in consultations, not only with the Crown governments, but bilaterally with Indigenous communities as well. So we've set aside a modest budget to support that work. And this year, we will create a formal structure to support the executive council member who will be or has been appointed to that committee, and will provide them a clerk function, so there's record keeping. Again, a very modest ask for that group. This figure is not current. Revenues are actually a little bit higher than 16,000, and costs are a little higher than 26,000, but it's not an earth-shattering amount above and beyond that. But I apologize for the clerical error as it appears here. We can certainly update those numbers and provide them to you. But that's an overview of what it is that we're hoping to begin with this year, and I look forward to your questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, for all of your hard work and for your team that you have all put into this. Haichka. I'll now open the floor to legislators who have any questions or comments. Haichka. Andrea Jacobs, Kuya.
Haichka Squiggles-Yam, Haichka Niece for the feather, and Andrew for the presentation. It's nice to have you back. Welcome. I have many questions. I'll just ask a couple, but the Guardian Watchman program, this is a new program. When I saw it in the newsletter, it was a one-page flyer, and I didn't really understand what it was, and I think a few people might have missed out on that opportunity, so I'm wondering if that's happening again, and can you maybe just give us a little brief description of exactly what that is, because I still don't understand. And it would be cool if it was offered again. And just going off of that one as well, and I don't know if the Guardian Watchman program has anything to do with this, just also wondering about the economic opportunities. I know last year I brought up how can we get our fishermen involved? It's a dying industry, our crabbers, like, you know, there's unemployment around that, and just interested, we've all talked about getting them trained up and being on the water. There's opportunities out there. Nobody really knows how to access those opportunities. So just two questions. Haichka.
Haichka, Kuya. Andrew?
Thank you for your question. So there's a couple of questions to unpack there. The first one I think is worth a bit of a clarification. So with respect to the recent notice that went out to the community, there is some training that we're providing as a part of the budget this year for members to get skills with respect to monitoring changes in the environment. So that it's Guardian Watchman training. That's the way that it's branded. And those are some of the skills that we are hoping to develop in our members, but it's separate and distinct from the Guardian Watchman program, which we are proposing in the budget for this year and years moving forward. But all of those people that we hope will be participating in the training that's being provided this year will use those skills within the Guardian Watchman program that we are proposing for this year and moving forward. So the Guardian Watchman program that we are proposing will see Tsawwassen members actually moving about the traditional territory and observing changes in the environment. Most of the time, and the way that this has happened for other groups that have an active program like this, it usually begins with harvesters, and they're doing conservation off the side of their desks, if you will, while they're engaged in harvesting activities and cultural activities out on the landscape. They are making observations about the quality of the environment around them, and they're using that information to bring back to their home communities, and then their home communities act on those conditions and those changes that they see using whatever tools they happen to have at their disposal, whether those are policies or bylaw enforcement or investments, however it is that communities choose to try to improve the world around them. But it begins with citizen patrols and those kinds of things. We want to be able to provide members with an opportunity to get out onto the landscape, observe what's going on, and be proactively a part of the solution for improving the environment. Now, some people already have skills. They already have vessels. They're well familiar with the territory. They just kind of need some support in terms of what do they do with the information that they kind of already possess. That's the kind of the professional component of it. So we're going to bring some people on within the organization who can take the observation of members and turn that into programming that we use to protect the environment. So the other byproduct I hope that we'll be able to do as part of this programming is to also get people with skills and familiarity with the environment, something that they can do that is not necessarily related to harvesting. The economic fishery is all but gone, unfortunately. And there has been a lot of urban development, so there are fewer and fewer opportunities for members to harvest in a way that reflects our rich history. So we have to start doing something proactively to restore that environment. Part of that effort, at least as far as I'm concerned, is diversifying our efforts, getting people away from the harvesting element and kind of letting them use their skills more in a conservation kind of a role. That is the inspiration for the Guardian Watchman program.
Hi, Andrew. Does that answer your question, Kuya? Hi, now, next up, we have Don Palequia, Legislator Don Williams. Go see him.
Haichka Squeaklesium, Haichka Nevea for the feather. Haichka Andrew for your presentation. I'm just inquiring about the fish distribution. We have salmon and you have crab and prawns. Can we add halibut to that for some of our members? And also a comment about the hunter safety and firearms courses that have been delivered quite frequently lately. I know it's been brought up before about having our hunters supply some game meat for distribution for our members as well. And I didn't see that captured in here. I'm wondering if that's going to be part of this coming budget. Haichka.
Haichka, for your questions. Andrew?
Thank you for your question. I will have to come back with the exact number unless my staff knows this off the tip of their tongue, and I believe that they might. But the budget for this year does contemplate an increase for the amount of finfish and shellfish that we purchase from members for distribution to the community. I'll ask my natural resources manager, Crystal Walker, to come join me.
OCM, I think that's $5 to the Feather Runner. Heichka, $5 to Nevaeh the Feather Runner. We can take care of that afterwards, but we'll continue on. We'll continue on with the questions and comments. Yeah, you owe Nevaeh 5. Heichka.
Heichka Squeakle CM. To address the question with respect to halibut specifically, we're in the process in this current fiscal of procuring more halibut because in our finfish budget for FSC, we were quite low in terms of what we actually spent versus what we allocated for. So we have found a supplier for halibut, and we're in the process of basically we've ordered in the realm of about 200 pounds so far. So we plan on adding more there. And then with respect to the hunting question, with that one, we really want to have more workshops specifically related to how to clean game. And so we've been talking to the same providers that did the training safety courses to see if they could facilitate that. Unfortunately, it hasn't been successful. We have had a similar increase in cost year over year for the hunting program in this upcoming fiscal. So the intent for that is if we cannot find a service provider to assist with the workshops for hunting increases, we will end up actually asking if there's any members in the community that are interested in facilitating this work, because that was also speaking to the member resolution or the legislator resolution with respect to knowledge transfer. So I hope that answered your question, Heichka.
Heichka, Crystal. I think more of the question might have been more around distribution of or purchasing meats from our hunters here, and distributing that to elders first, I would imagine, and then possibly like food programs or elders lunch programs and things like that, and possibly I don't know about all membership, but I'm not. I guess that'd be something for staff to figure out. I would imagine that could get quite expensive, as it costs quite a bit to get out there on the land and hunting and all that. But I like the question. It's a good question. And I hope there is the ability for us to be able to support that. So thank you. Any further questions or comments from anybody? Squamia, Melinda Cassidy.
Heichka Nevaeh for the Feather and Heichka Squeakle. And thank you, Andrew, for the presentation. I just have a question and a comment. For those of us that don't work within the departments, all of the acronyms are just hard for us to understand what they mean. So we would appreciate maybe for less acronyms. But my question is in regards to, I lost it. It was something to do with some framework with Musqueam. Oh, Squetchinum. I was wondering if you could maybe explain what that is. Thank you.
Heichka Squamia. Andrew?
Thank you for your comment and your question, and I'll do my best to speak plainly. The Squetchinum framework is a collaboration between ourselves and Musqueam First Nation to lead conservation efforts on the lower Fraser River. So this is an effort that is pretty tightly focused on the river and the estuary south of the, or I should say from the confluence of the Pitt River all the way out to the mouth. So we are working on a partnership, and this partnership will be extended to include Crown agencies, both federal and provincial. And it will replicate some of the conservation work that has happened under other initiatives previously. Folks may remember the Fraser River Estuary Management Program and similar kinds of Crown conservation efforts. those programs were discontinued by the federal and provincial governments a number of years ago. We are looking, that is to say, Tsawwassen and Musqueam leadership are looking at reviving some of those efforts, but having more of a conservation focus than a development focus, which was kind of the goal and ambition of the Crown and federal governments. But we would use funding that we receive from our Crown partners to fund and administer conservation work directly. So we would identify fisheries projects, wildlife projects, plant harvesting projects, and conservation projects to directly improve the Fraser River and its shores, again, in an area pretty tightly focused on the mouth.
Hi, Chair Andrew. Next up, we have Sultanate Legislator Loretta Williams.
Thank you for the feather. Thank you, Squeakle and Andy. So this is a question I ask every year, you know, like with cedar bark. And, you know, like I'm wondering, is that going to be part of your department to find us places where we could harvest? Or is that the department manager? And the other thing is, it says that it's rebranded, the conservation, I can't read it, but what's it, is that the resources manager that it was rebranded from? Okay. And the other thing is, I don't know if you never touched base on this too much, but I got to ask it. So it's in regard to the George Massey tunnel replacement. Can anybody update us on what's going on, or is it still up in the air? Okay, Heichka.
Hi, Chair, for your questions, Sultanate Andrew.
Thank you for your questions, and I know that there's a couple there. So I suppose that I'll begin first with the rebranding and the change in structure for our team. So our team is expanding, and we're planning on bringing some new people in. We're going to have to move some people around. So the current natural resources manager handles two broad portfolios. So one of them is sustainability and stewardship, and the other is natural resources. The natural resources program, or at least the way it was described last year, included the fisheries program as well as terrestrial harvesting. So we're looking at just separating those out. So there will be an additional manager that we bring on. But the current manager will move laterally to take over the sustainability and stewardship functions, and then there'll be an additional hire that we bring on who will do some job shadowing, and eventually will take over the fisheries negotiator position, and then begin to manage that department. So this is the first part of kind of a very long effort that's going to roll out over a couple of years. Part of that role, that is to say, the management of the natural resources program, will include plant harvesting. So, and that's where we would deal with all of the cedar harvesting and other kind of plant harvesting programs. And we would work in concert with member services. So they're responsible for the cultural activities. We're simply responsible for the conservancy part of that. So, but between those two departments, there'll be continued support for members that want to learn about cedar harvesting and other kinds of plant harvesting and be able to engage in it. And the third aspect of the question, I believe, was
The update on the George
George Massey Tunnel project. So we are working along with TI Corporation, and one of their representatives is here with us tonight, witnessing the work that we're doing. I'm not going to put them on the spot and ask them to do an update. But again, we are working very closely with the province of British Columbia. There is an environmental assessment for the the tunnel replacement project. We're fully engaged and will continue to be fully engaged this fiscal and beyond. I don't know how long it's going to take us to get through that project, but I believe that construction is set to begin sometime like 5 or 6 years out from now. Between now and then, I hope that there will be a decision on the project, and we are going to continue to be engaged right up until the bitter end, so to speak. There is a consultation effort that TI Corporation as a proponent will do, and we are participating there. I'm sure that there's going to be several community meetings, and there'll be lots of opportunities for members to pose specific questions and get specific answers on their concerns with respect to that project.
Hi, Andrew, for all your responses there to all those questions. Great questions. Any other questions or comments from legislators? Palaquia, Don Williams.
Heichka Squeaklesiam, Heichka Nevea for the feather. Just asking about the mapping of important plant species. Is that all out in the foreshore? And along with that, can we have more of a cleanup out there? We have a lot of invasive species that are kind of taken over. It's so overgrown out there, and a lot of it needs to be cleaned up so it's not suffocating the important plant species out there. Heichka.
Hi, Andrew.
Thank you for your question. The programming with respect to plant mapping is not only local, but across, there'll be a number of sites across the traditional territory, and it tends to have more of a harvesting focus than a conservation focus, at least as far as plant harvesting is concerned. Other natural resources are a little bit different. But we certainly have some latitude in terms of the design of the program, so we can begin to incorporate that in our plans for this year and for moving forward. With respect to how invasive plants are managed on lands, we share responsibility in that area with the lands department, so we would have to collaborate with them to see what is possible and talk about what tools and techniques might be available to us, and to see if there are revenue sources that we can draw upon. The program that we're proposing for this budget doesn't contain any line item to deal with invasive plants within the community for this year, but that's something that we can fold into our budget moving forward. But again, we would have to work across departments to come up with that strategy.
Hi, Andrew, for your response to that. I know the invasive plants are a huge problem around here, and I'm glad that we're going to be starting to look into that a little more, and hopefully we can include something in the budget in the future for that. Hi, moving on now to Andrea Kuya.
Heichka Squeaklesiam, Heichka Nevea for the feather, and Andrew for being patient with all of our questions. Let's see. I was happy to hear with capital budget that there's going to be some consultation on the dock that we've been waiting for many years. Still not having any access to the river has been really frustrating for our fishers and crabbers. But so I'm happy to hear that there's going to be some consultation, and it makes sense that it's going to be done right. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. So that was really good. Just spinning off that, I'm wondering, it's good that our partners are here from the port and Fortis. That's really good. So one question I have is, I'm wondering if we can get an update on major projects, RBT2 and then the Fortis Tilbury, the ones that directly affect the waters that we are in. If not now, maybe wondering when consultation or updates to the community might be. So that's one. And then another one is, from what Paliquia was saying, a partner I don't see here, and I've brought it up before, is BC Ferries. They're right there, you know, we have the port on one side, we have the ferries on the other. We're right in between, and, you know, we have to manage that. The way that our lands are treated are so disrespectful. There's garbage all up and down. We're having to go down there and clean. And not only that, but our only access for our boats to get down there for our crabbers and fishermen is on this dock that's broken. You know, they can barely get down it. And I'm just wondering where we are. Are we in negotiations or talks with BC Ferries? And if not, can we get on that? That would be awesome. Haichka, and thank you for your patience.
Haichka Kuya. Andrew?
Thank you for your question and your comment. So I'll start at the back and work my way forward. We do recognize the need to work with BC Ferries, and while we don't have anything as explicit with BC Ferries in terms of partnership in the same way that we do with the port, we have expressed to them a need to formalize our working relationship, our political relationship, our economic relationship, and we are acting on that. So I understand that there has been a change just recently with respect to their BC Ferries Indigenous Relations personnel. So one of the things that we will raise with the new person coming on is the need for us to have those frank and long overdue discussions. So we will start and continue that relationship. I will say that we are working with staff on a lower level in an access management plan to try to deal with some of the chronic issues that we have had and that BC Ferries has had with a lot of traffic on the causeway. And by traffic, you know, we don't necessarily mean vehicles headed to and from the ferry, but people using the causeway in ways that are unintended and not necessarily healthy. There are some recreational users that do respect the environment and that are being good neighbors, but there are others that, you know, leave garbage and are engaged in some unsavory activities. BC Ferries recognizes that as a problem. We recognize that as a problem. So we're meeting to start talking about how we can both contribute to a solution. But, you know, on top of that work, we will say that that we need to build a stronger, more meaningful relationship between us. So we take that direction. On your second question, and I'm straining to remember it.
I think that was around the dock.
Thank you.
Haichka.
So
No.
with respect to the dock, we have been working with Vancouver Fraser Port Authority, and some of those discussions have kind of started and stopped while we've been distracted by other aspects of the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 development. But it's a conversation that we have been having. One of the difficulties that we've come up against is the fact that our fishing fleet really has two different components. One is salmon fishers and the other are crab fishers. They operate different kinds of vessels, and those vessels have very different requirements. So the kind of a dock that works for, you know, for the skiffs supporting the crab fishery doesn't necessarily work very well for salmon boats. So we're doing our best to try to understand those needs and having conversations with the members of the Natural Resources Committee. My staff is currently doing a survey of all the boat owners in the community and trying to kind of better understand what their information needs are and what the physical requirements they would have of a dock are. And we're also trying to find some sites on the Fraser River and other places where we could actually locate a facility and talk about what some of those options might be. So we may have to do some kind of a land acquisition somewhere. We may have to build something new, or we might purchase access at an existing facility like Captain's Cove or somewhere else. But it's hard to know, what the best option for us is in terms of financial fit without knowing what our physical requirements are. So, but that work is ongoing. VFPA in the conversations that we've had with them have been as accommodating as they could be, and they would like to offer some space to use in the interim. It's just a question of, can we do that in a way that works, with their kind of commercial traffic and the needs of those users, and are we kind of able to kind of fully capitalize on that opportunity. Unfortunately, there's just kind of a lot of outstanding technical questions that we have to tackle.
Haichka, Andrew, Kuya, follow-up? Andrea Jacobs, Kuya, Osia.
Hi, Squeakles. The other question was just on, an update on major projects, RBT2 and the Fortis and Tilbury. I know that there's a concern about the RBT2 terminal, being right on our crabbing grounds and all of that. Just wondering when there might be an update to the community on that. Haichka.
Haichka, Kuya, Andrew?
Thank you for your comment and your question. This is a part of work that we're doing this year and plan on doing next year and into the future. I don't have a date at the tip of my tongue, but we'll be working through a broader community session, that is to say a public session that will do updating on the progress on the major files. But there's also updates that we will bring to the community by way of the advisory council as well. I think we also tend to do some updates through, by way of the Natural Resources Committee as well. But again, I take the direction very plainly that we need to have a broadly based public session, and we'll try to set up something where there's an online component as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Andrew. Thank you for your questions, Kuya. Next up, we have Loretta Saltonaut. If we could raise our hands extra high for Nevaeh. Oh, there we go. Nevaeh's second time tonight, so if we could all raise our hands for her extra high a little bit. Thank you, Saltonaut.
Okay, it's hereditary being short. So anyhow, in your stewardship and sustainable milestones, you got support for a cultural hub. I'm wondering, do you know how to say it in our language? Instead of using the word hub, I'm going to get, I think it's Siathas Layla. Did I say it right? Siathas Layla. So I'm thinking that we need to get educated on all these names that we have put to the various departments. And if we start using it here, then people that are listening, they'll be able to understand. So if I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. But anyhow, that's just a comment. And in regards to the stewardship and sustainable new initiatives, we got to create new programs and positions for air quality, water, and all this other stuff. So my question is, do we get a share of the carbon tax for all of this? Okay, Haichka.
Thank you for your question. With respect to the carbon tax, I think that's I'm going to throw our friends in policy and intergovernmental affairs under the bus and ask them to come back with a response on that. But or a more detailed response on that, I suppose. But I will say that as a function of this year's budget, no, we don't contemplate any support from government or industry with respect to carbon credits. We do know that the government of British Columbia is doing a policy paper right now, and there has been some work that some of our Indigenous friends in the Tsimshian communities on the North Coast have been doing with respect to entering the carbon credit market. So that's a potential business opportunity that we are kind of passively looking into in the background. With respect to Hunkaminam terminology, we use that, as best we can, and we're going to start to see that more and more in the products that we develop for our internal use, but also in the way that we share information with the outside world. I struggle with speaking the language, but am doing my best to learn. Although I will say we've made some great strides, even in just the last 12 months, to embrace language. I know one thing that we've started to do, and you'll see this in the Squatchinam framework documents as those come online, that where we used to refer to the parts of the agreement that describe our work, we would call them schedules. Nowadays, we refer to them as creeks and use the term. I can't pronounce it quite properly, but it's a reflection of branches coming off the main part of a river, and it's quite an apt analogy for kind of the subtopics within a document. So we hear the message loud and clearly that we need to do everything that we can to reflect Tsawwassen culture in all of our work moving forward.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for your question to Sultanat. Any further questions or comments from legislators regarding the territory management schedule? Tia Williams, Lacolia.
Haichka Squeakle, Haichka Nevea for the feather. Comment and a couple questions. It's great to see some more movement with the Squatchinam framework and the 8 new hires. First question, I guess, is easier. Where is the TFN biologist? I'm guessing maybe her title has changed. And understanding now the difference between the Guardian Watchman coordinator and then the difference at the Lands Guardian training program that's coming up. I think you sort of explained that, but I'm seeing the coordinator positions for the non-renewable and the renewable resources. What type of work does that entail? And it seems like there is enough work for 2 people to take on. So I guess maybe expand a little bit more.
Hi, Lacolia. Andrew?
So we have a couple of biologists on staff already. They are working currently with the Natural Resources Program, but again are being moved over into this sustainability and stewardship function. Altogether, we will be adding 8 additional positions. Most of them, I believe, are going to be biologists as well. They will be supporting a lot of this new program that we're setting out. And again, we're establishing the structure for it this year, but I don't know that we'll be able to kind of bring all that capacity on this particular fiscal year. It's something that we're planning for the future. But those areas will be divided into 2 program areas: non-renewable resources and then renewable resources. Non-renewable resources will include energy programs and subsurface resources. So that would be, again, mostly hydrocarbons and that kind of thing. The air quality work will be supporting the work that we do alongside of Metro Vancouver. They generally have responsibility for that area. With respect to renewable resources, this is going to be new programming on air quality and water quality.
Heichka Andrew. Any further questions or comments from anybody? Legislature Kuya, Andrea Jacobs.
Heichka Squeakle Heichka Nevea and Andrew. I swear this is my last one. More of a comment. Just wondering, from what Palihuia was saying about the wild game, I know it's really hard to come by, and even our hunters have to apply for tags, and then to even get out there, we have to try and it's not easy. So I'm wondering if there's a way that we can work with other nations, because I know there's abundance out there, and I know that our resources aren't as much, but there's got to be a way. There's things that maybe Tsawwassen has that we can work with other nations to get that wild meat and game to families, because the cost of food is just going up. And if we can provide that and have that in our food pantry or whatever for families to have, I think that would be great. And there's got to be a way we can work with these other nations is my only suggestion. Heichka, for listening.
Heichka Kuya. Thanks. I don't think that requires a response, Andrew, but that's a good question and suggestion and comment. I believe maybe some trading of salmon and crab might be a good way, but I think staff will look into that and take that suggestion and comment into consideration. So thank you for that one. Any further questions or comments from any legislators on the schedule, territory management? Schedule 12. Halquamatia, Louise Alm.
Heichka Squeakle Heichka Nevea for the feather. I love that name, Nevea, heaven backwards. Just a quick question about, it's good that we need new hires, and I suppose 8 biologists, or most of them biologists. That's good for the environment, which we're concerned about. But there's always been, we were told we were understaffed for referrals. And is there plans, do we have enough staff for referrals? Because like you said, there's a lot of work in that department, and we were always told by people that we could do a lot more work in that area. Heichka.
Heichka Halquamatia, good question. Andrew?
Thank you for your question. This year's budget for referrals is the same as last year's budget, so it's $100,000, which is just devoted to staff time. We are processing actually fewer referrals this year than in years previous, so we're hoping that the one current full-time position that we have dedicated to that will be enough. But again, with bringing on additional people to support other areas of programming, if we do need to provide some additional support to the current referral staff, then we'll be able to do that. Again, subject to the approval of the appropriation that we're bringing to the table.
Hi, Andrew. Any further questions or comments on Schedule 12 before calling a vote? Right on. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your contributions, legislatures. I'll now read the motion to move Schedule 12 to third reading and then ask for a mover and a seconder. Motion to move Schedule 12, the Territory Management Schedule of Bill 001-2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11th, 2025, that each schedule on Bill 001-2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 12, the Territory Management Schedule, to third reading. Do I have a mover? Moved by Lacolia. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Peliquia. All those in favor? Thank you, legislators. Looks like everybody voted in favor unanimously. Heichka. How's everybody feeling? Keep going, and then we'll get into a break after this, and then the resolutions. I think that will be good. Heichka, moving on to Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule of Bill 001-2025. I'd like to call upon Ryan Daum, Manager of Economic Development, to give a presentation on Schedule 13, as well as the Tsawwassen Economic Development Corporation Annual Report.
Heichka Squeakquel CM. As you noted, my name is Ryan Daum. I'm TFN's Manager of Economic Development. Tonight I'll be presenting two reports to the Legislature. The first is the report on TEDC's 2024 Annual Report, and the second is Schedule 13, the Appropriations Act for Economic Development for 2025-2026 fiscal. So on the first report, on TEDC's 2024 annual report. So the recommendation is that to receive the Economic Development Corporation, or TEDC's annual report ending March 31st, 2024. Okay. TFN's Economic Development Act sets out a number of obligations, several of which pertain to TEDC's annual report, such as reporting out to legislature. This is a historical requirement that is less relevant now that economic development is a department of TFN. Previously, economic development activities were conducted solely through TEDC, which had its own employees, including a chief executive officer and a board of directors, or external directors, I should say. Details of the Economic Development Department's operations are currently being reported through the same mechanism as other government operations. Due to the changes in operations, the annual report has been pared down, and the focus of the annual report is on TEDC's audited financial statements. The report is attached for information. What I will do, speaking to the statements, is just call out one of the key measures reported within. So for the year ended March 31st, 2024, the revenues reported were $949,000. Key to that is for the preceding year, there was an increase. In the preceding year, the revenues were $396,000, so they are trending upwards. I ask that you accept this report for legislature review.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions or comments from anybody? Any questions or comments? Somebody has to ask Ryan something. I'm just kidding. No, that's good. Thank you for the report, Ryan. And I think we'll move on to the annual report, I believe, or Schedule 13, sorry. Heichka.
Heichka Nevaeh, Heichka Squeakquel CM. I will now report on the TFN's Economic Development Budget for the 2025-2026 Appropriations Act, Schedule 13. Okay. I'll start with an overview of the Economic Development Department's budget. First off, let's compare the 2024-2025 budget to the budget presented today, the 2025-2026. So for the year ended 2025, we had a budget for core and programs of just over 1.4 million. The current budget for the year ending 2026 is asking for approximately 1.3 million. So there has been a reduction in the budget on that and through core and general programs. However, I do want to call out that for the TFN member Small Business Development Program, which includes grants, loans, and business support, the budget is increasing from 390,000 to 440,000. Overall, the budget is increasing by 0.17%, so it's virtually the same. The core focus for our department is on immediate revenue-generating opportunities, primarily development of TFN's industrial lands. Economic development has made progress, completing the first phase of the Employment Industrial Land Strategy. And at the same time, we've advanced a short-term leasing pilot program. And finally, the other key component is we're exploring revenue sharing opportunities in TFN's territory. Projected revenues for the upcoming year are business income of about 1.2 million, which again is a steady increase for year over year for the department. And there's a new revenue stream that we're looking at right now is about $800,000 for short-term leasing in the upcoming year. As noted, the member business development program is increasing. I should note, though, the majority of that is for funding for member businesses. Last year, we had set aside $300,000, and there was a lot of interest for membership. So this year, we've increased it by $50,000 to $350,000. And the final thing that I'll note is long-term lease revenue is typically not budgeted for within the schedules. I want to touch on the positions because they're really key to the department. For the current year, there's no new positions are being asked for, and we continue to leverage consultants for flexibility and the ability to match to opportunities presented to us. Over the past year or so, we've really taken our time to find the right employees who fit well with our department in the community. And just a bit of an update, we filled the development analyst position with a Tsawwassen member, and that's really key because it's bringing in-house capacity into the department. And we have also filled a vacancy on the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and that position has real estate expertise. So just a bit of an update on staffing and support. Within our core functions, we continue to seek opportunities to lease TFN lands at the best possible value. At the same time, we're seeking strategic business partnerships and opportunities to generate ongoing revenue streams in between long-term leases. We're asking for $691,000 to support this function. Within our programs, we have three main program areas that we're looking to prioritize for the upcoming year. The first is land development, the second is business development, and the third is innovation and sustainability. So the first program is in the industrial land development, and there's three activities underneath it. The first is real estate brokerage, the second is employment and industrial land strategy, and the third is real estate strategy and frameworks. So for the real estate strategy, or real estate brokerage, I should say, we've set aside $150,000 for the program, and it's broken into two different activities. The first is we're piloting short-term leasing program on our industrial lands, and the second is we're looking to bring the industrial lands to market for long-term leasing. Both of these will move concurrently at the same time. The second activity is the employment industrial land strategy. So this is continuing on with the work that we completed in the current fiscal. And what we're doing now is we're operationalizing the strategy that provided a flexible set of tools, and we're refining it to put us in a position for long-term leasing upon completion. The third activity that we have is a real estate strategy and frameworks, and we budgeted $100,000 for it. This is a high-level review of TFN, our current real estate practices and processes, and we're trying to identify opportunities for improvement in our management. It's so very important to balance immediate revenues while implementing best practices and processes to steward TFN's lands. TFN's lands are the primary economic driver of the nation. They create lease revenues that flow into the TFN Member Legacy Trust. We collect off-site levies that fund capital works on lands. And finally, they provide an ongoing revenue stream through property taxation, which funds the operations of government. The second program area is business development, and there's two activities underneath this. The first one is to work with member businesses to develop business plans and assist in business startup and operations. And a big part of that, again, is providing capital and grants and loans to members. So we plan on working with interested members to develop business plans and assist in business startup and operation. We're implementing a framework to support TFN member businesses through planning and process improvement. And as noted previously, we're looking to increase the funding for member businesses by $50,000. The second activity that we're looking at is to participate in major projects happening in the TFN territory. And the first thing I'll note is that we work very, very closely with territory management to understand the community, the risks, the impacts, community sentiments. And so it's just vital that that takes place. There's numerous large-scale projects within TFN territory impacting TFN's treaty rights. Additionally, the provincial government, among others, has set Indigenous procurement requirements for many of these infrastructure projects. And those are some of the things we're looking to capitalize on. The third program area only has one activity, and that's our Innovation and Sustainability Program. And that activity is to develop an energy project policy and strategy. We've set aside about $150,000 for that initiative. The work would be involved complete a strategy, incorporate the strategy into a project assessment framework. So this is a little bit different than the other departments do. We really take the lead from whether it's territory management or lands department about how the assessment works. This is really from an economic lens, even if it's something that might be permissible or permitted, we take a second lens to ensure it aligns with TFN's values. This has been carried forward from the previous year, because we've had many other priorities advancing the industrial lands. The budget is being requested this year to provide flexibility to advance the project based on staffing capacity. Regardless of whether this program goes forward or not, we continue to explore innovation and sustainability initiatives that are baked into the employment industrial land strategy at its core. I thought it was important to highlight some of the secondary objectives and programming that we've put a pause on. Just because we put a pause on them means they're deferred, but they're still important initiatives. The first program that we've put a pause on is the implementation of the economic component of the agricultural strategy. The decision is not to lose focus on the industrial lands. The objective is to maximize returns on a very finite land base, which includes both the industrial lands and the agricultural lands. Again, we're trying to maximize the value of those lands by not losing focus. The second program we're looking at is to create a TFN-owned business to run directly. Again, when we looked at this and we took a little bit of a hindsight and review, we realized there was a lot of additional capacity required to manage a TFN business, and it may divert attention from our primary objective of land development. While not the focus, greater TFN business participation in leasing structures are still being explored as part of our budgeted land development initiatives. Finally, within this space, we're actually taking a look and developing, as we speak, alternative corporate partnership agreements to complement those income streams. And that concludes my presentation. Heichka Squeakle.
Heichka, for your presentation, Ryan. I'll now open the floor to the legislators who have any comments or questions. First up, we have a Sultanate, Loretta Williams.
Okay, Hitchcock for the Feather and Squeakle and Ryan. First of all, I like to say, like all your icons. It makes it, so there's only one I don't understand, is this one. And, but also, just to go back to your report, in regards to the greenhouse development opportunity, you know, can you do a little more update on that, or is that saved for another meeting? Okay, Hitchcock.
Heichka, Loretta. Ryan?
Heichka for the question, Sultanate, and Heichka Squeakle CM. I can generally speak to the process. It is a project that we brought to our Agricultural Advisory Committee some time ago, and I called it pre-consultation. So it's quite a bit earlier than maybe we typically would bring it, so it hasn't moved as quickly. And the idea was, before we get too far down the path, let's chat to members and make sure we're on the right path. So this one's, we're working on it. We have a good relationship, but we have to get the right value for the land in the right structure. So it's still early days. The main thing is we've kicked off consultation as early as I think we feasibly could. And it's certainly something that before it's approved, we'll need much more consultation. Heichka Squeakle.
Heichka, Ryan. Good question there, Sultanate. Sorry. There's a question about the icon that's on the page. If you could please answer that one. Heichka.
Heichka Squeakle. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's that is a graph of profits steadily increasing, which fortunately has happened. Heichka. Oh, there's one other one, and it's programs that were on a pause, so it was intentional not to put a stop there, just a pause. Heichka.
Heichka, Sultanate. Heichka, Ryan. Moving on now to Melinda Cassidy, Legislator Squamia. Heichka.
Heichka Squeakle and Heichka for the Feather Nevaeh. And thank you, Ryan, for your presentation. My question's regarding the TFN member small business development. I believe that was funded through a port fund, a $1 million port fund or $2 million port fund. I can't quite remember. Is that still being funded through that fund? And if so, maybe just an update on how much is remaining. Heichka.
Heichka, Ryan.
Heichka Squeakle, and thank you for your question. The fund has actually been expensed or used up to this point. Due to its importance and the community's desire, we've continued to ask legislature to fund it every year. Heichka.
Heichka, thank you. Ryan, any further questions or comments on Schedule 13? Any further questions or comments on Schedule 13? Seeing none, thank you for your input, legislators. I will now read the motion to move Schedule 13 to third reading and then ask for a mover and a seconder. Motion to move Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule of Bill 001-2025 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 11th, 2025, that each schedule of Bill 001-2025 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule, to third reading. Do I have a mover? Moved by Halquamitia Louise Alm. Do I have a seconder? Moved by Marianne Adams, or seconded by Marianne Adams. I'd like to call to a vote. All those in favor? Heitschka. Everybody's in favor unanimously. Thank you. Thank you. Motion has been carried. Now I'd like to call a break, and after that, we'll be getting into legislative resolutions. 7-10 minute break. Heitschka. Introduction to legislator resolutions. Moving to our final item of the night, the introduction of legislator resolutions. As a reminder, we'll introduce the resolutions this evening. Legislators are welcome to ask clarifying questions, keeping in mind that the debate and voting will occur next meeting. Are there any resolutions to be introduced? I believe we have a couple here. First, I would like to start off with a resolution brought forward by Executive Councillor Taylor Baker. I'd like to introduce the resolution on behalf of Legislator Taylor Baker, who is unable to attend this meeting this evening. The resolution is titled, Resolution to Request that Executive Council consider an increase to quarterly distributions. I'm going to begin by reading the introduction of Legislator Taylor has provided to accompany the resolution, followed by a reading of the resolution itself. Legislator Taylor will be present at next week's meeting to provide any additional context and to answer any questions that you may have. Introduction. Good evening, fellow legislators. First of all, I want to thank Acting Squaikwell Tahuela Miothiwans for introducing this resolution on my behalf. The resolution I am introducing requests that Executive Council reviews TFN's financial status to determine if further increases to quarterly distributions can be made. The resolution is driven by a desire to ensure that our members continue to benefit from the growth and success of our community and that the distributions we provide keep pace with member needs. Over the past 15 years, the size of TFN's operating budget has grown from roughly $8.5 million to $82 million, a nearly tenfold increase. While the budget has grown significantly, most of this growth has been directed towards the expansion of programs and services, and the growth of quarterly distributions has not kept pace. While programs and services are an essential part of the benefits we provide, our members also deserve to see direct financial benefits that reflect growth and success of our government. The growth of the budget should be an opportunity to enhance the quarterly distributions so that all members feel the positive impacts of this growth. This resolution seeks to address the imbalance and ensure that our members share in the success of treaty. I recognize and appreciate that Executive Council has budgeted for an increase to distributions this year. It is a great first step and shows that we are moving in the right direction. What I'm asking for in this resolution is that Executive Council take a more in-depth review of TWASN's current financial and status to determine whether additional increases can be made for the benefit of our members. In closing, this resolution is about supporting the well-being of all members and ensuring that their contributions of the success of our nation are recognized. I respectfully request that the legislator give the matter careful consideration and support this resolution so that we can better meet the needs and expectations of our members moving forward. Haitchka. The resolution. Resolution to request that Executive Council consider an increase to the quarterly distributions. Whereas the 2025-2026 Appropriations Act provides for an additional $500 distribution to be paid to members in the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Whereas quarterly distributions enable all members to share in the economic benefits of treaty and the development of the lands that they have been connected to since time immemorial. Whereas member financial benefits advance reconciliation, support member well-being, and help compensate members for the past harms caused by colonization. Whereas the growth of Tsawwassen First Nations quarterly distributions has not kept pace with the growth in spending on programs and services. Therefore, be it moved that the legislature calls on Executive Council to conduct a review of Tsawwassen First Nations financial status to determine the feasibility of further increases to quarterly distributions. Haitchka. I'm looking for a seconder. Is there a seconder, please? Halkwamatia has seconded the resolution. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, I look forward to everyone getting into the debate and questions around this resolution in the next meeting. Haitchka. Next, I believe we have a resolution. I think there's two on the table here from legislators. I believe Squamia, Melinda Cassidy has one, as well as Kuya Kuya. I think we'll start off with Melinda Cassidy. If you'd like to introduce your resolution, please.
Hitchka Squeakle and Hitchka for the Feather. Tonight I'm introducing a resolution that requests that Executive Council review the living allowances paid to members undertaking employment and skills training and pursuing post-secondary education. Investing in the education and professional development of members is one of the most important functions we approve when passing the annual budget each year. At TFN, we are lucky to have the opportunity to receive financial support while pursuing our higher education. To take courses that develop our professional skills and undertake training that improves our employment and career opportunities. And while we're grateful for the financial support that we receive, the rising cost of living continues to pose significant challenges to many members looking to build their skills and better their lives through the education and training. The gap between what we can receive through the living allowance and the true cost of living is a significant obstacle that forces members to choose between educational and career opportunities and having their basic needs met. I have a personal example. The Natural Resources Department has shared an opportunity for members to undertake the Land Guardian training, which enables members to receive a land guardian certification and participate in hands-on work to protect our lands. This was an opportunity I was initially expressing interest to take, but I ultimately decided not to pursue this because of the financial stress it would have. This was disappointing, and I know I'm not the only member that experienced this. With that context in mind, I'm now going to read the resolution and ask you to give it to consideration so that we can discuss it next week. Resolution to request that Executive Council review the post-secondary education policy and employment and training policy living allowances. Whereas Tsawwassen First Nation provides a living allowance to members pursuing higher education, professional certifications, employment enhancements, and skills upgrades. Whereas member education and skills development and training increases employability, improves career opportunities, grows the capacity of Tsawwassen First Nation government, and benefits the overall well-being of members. Whereas the current living allowance amounts have not kept up with the rising cost of living and do not adequately meet the needs of members pursuing higher education and undertaking training. Whereas members should not be forced to choose between bettering their lives through higher education and employment skills development and having their basic needs met. Whereas each member required to turn down educational and career opportunities for financial reasons represents a lost opportunity to build a more skilled workforce, support the well-being of members, and grow the capacity of TFN as a whole. Therefore, be it moved that the legislator calls on Executive Council to conduct a review of the living allowance amounts paid under the post-secondary education policy and the employment and training policy to better align with the current cost of living to ensure that members have the opportunity to pursue education and training without financial hardship.
Thank you, legislator. Is there a seconder available? Palekuya, Don Williams as the seconder. Haichka, are there any clarifying questions from anybody? This item will be debated in the next meeting. Haichka. Next up, I believe we have Andrea Jacobs Kuya with another resolution to bring forward.
Haichka Squeakle Haichka Nevea for the Feather. Okay, so my resolution actually works together with Taylor's resolution, Legislator Taylor's resolution, to consider amendments to the Community Safety and Security Act. So last session, she had put on the table to consider amendments to that act. The resolution I'm putting on the table is to actually enforce the act, to take actions to enforce the act. So I just a few words to say about that. I just bring this resolution forward in hopes of having Executive Council make this a priority this year, especially considering our motto is leaving no member behind. We talk about our community should be a safe place to live. It's just been really hard, and I know that we have members and their families who do not feel safe, even in their own homes, literally having to lock themselves in their own homes to protect from undesirable people who, for their own safety, due to mental illness or all sorts of reasons. Over the years, we've seen minor enforcement of these homes. Unfortunately, this has resulted in very little or no change. We don't have a magic wand, and I just, maybe there's something that's being done, but from what I can see, it's in and out. It's still happening. You have the fenced-in yards. It's only keeping them in, and then they get out, and it's it's not working. And maybe we need to do a little bit more work on that. This topic hits very close, near and dear to my heart. It's affected my family. It's affected a lot of families down here. Our families have suffered so much loss, and I just have to wonder what it's going to take. And it worries me every day. And this comes with a full heart and hope that we can all work together as Not-So-Mot to make our Tsawwassen homeland a safe place to raise our children and our grandchildren. And I thank you all for listening. I will read the resolution. Resolution to request that Executive Council take further action to enforce the Community Safety and Security Act. Whereas, I apologize, I'm going to learn this for the next meeting, how to say this. Honoring Our Ancestors Charter states that under the Health, Wellness, and Safety section, that desired outcome for community safety is that residents feel physically and psychologically safe within Tsawwassen lands. Whereas Section 441 of the Community Safety and Security Act states that if Executive Council believes on reasonable and probable grounds that drug activity is occurring on Tsawwassen lands, Executive Council may make an order it considers advisable in respect of the land to A, inspect that land, B, stop the drug activity, and C, prevent the reoccurrence of drug activity. And Section 4.2 of the Community Safety and Security Act states that without limiting subsection 1, any order under that subsection by Executive Council may include the revocation of an interest of the land. Whereas Executive Council has not fully exercised its powers under Section 4 of the Community Safety and Security Act to prevent the reoccurrence of drug activity on properties where it is reasonably and probably known to occur. Whereas the drug activity that continues to occur on properties where lesser enforcement measures have been implemented has caused harm to the well-being and safety of the community as a whole. Therefore, be it resolved that the Tsawwassen Legislature calls on Executive Council to take further steps to enforce the Community Safety and Security Act to ensure a safe place to live for all present and future generations of members. Haichka, everyone in Squiquelsiam.
Haichka Kuya Kuya. Do I have a seconder for the resolution? Splocktowit. Terry Splockton. Seconds. Osia. Thank you, legislators. A lot of great resolutions there that I'm very supportive of, especially Kuya Kuya's. The safety of our community is the utmost importance, and I look forward to that coming to the Executive Council table and having that discussion and looking at the work that needs to take place to increase the security and safety of our community. So thank you for that, and thank you to Legislator Squamia I appreciate that resolution as well. It's about time we look into that as well and make some increases to support those individuals that are out there looking to increase their education and skill set and supporting them while they're on that journey and possibly scoop them up for to hire them in a TFN position. Also thanking Taylor Baker for her resolution to look at increasing distributions. I look forward to that discussion as well, taking place at the Executive Council table. And I look forward to the debate and questions and comments that are going to come out of reviewing these resolutions at the next meeting. With that, thank you legislators for all of your hard work and insight tonight. That concludes our business for this evening. I want to take the opportunity to remind everyone that before our next meeting on Tuesday, the land staff have organized a tour of the new Elder Center beginning at 4 p.m. We'll also be taking a group photo of the legislators in their regalia at the end of Tuesday's meeting. So please remember to bring your regalia and stick around for a few minutes at the end of the meeting. Thank you once again to Elder Castagna for the opening prayer, Connie and Jessica Adams for the table blessing, and Wapio Frank Campbell for drumming us in, and to Nevaeh Favang for being our feather runner. Haichka. Ramsey's, and also Haichka to Ramsey's Catering for our delicious meal, and to the elders, advisory council members, staff, and guests online for attending tonight. And Haichka for having me as your Squaikwell. It's been an honor. Big shoes to fill, but very thankful for the opportunity. And as you know, there will be a ceremonial procession as we're drummed out and remove our feathers from the mantle. Thank you everybody for the meeting tonight, and have safe travels home. Haichka.